What's up, everybody? Welcome back.
Sorry.
Let's do it again. One more time. From the top. With feeling.
Okay.
The shenanigans.
I can't. I have your voice in my head. Okay, last time. Okay. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Burnout Brighter podcast. This is episode 39. I'm your host, Matt. I'll be the host for this evening's festivities and fun stuff. If you're new to the podcast, this is a podcast all about video games, mental health, other things that we think is important, dumb, entertaining, or any of the above. I'm joined, as always, by my co-hosts, Destiny.
Hi.
And Darren.
Hello.
This week, I'm super fucking excited. I'm very, very stoked because we have on a new guest, somebody whose voice you haven't heard, but you have heard his musical stylings. We have Mick on the show today, who's made all of our music with his mouth.
Hey guys, it's true. And other orifices, but mostly my mouth.
The intro and the outro is actually entirely performed by Mick. He's got quite the vocal range. And he actually practiced that, what is it, like Indonesian throat singing? Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, where they harmonize with their own voice.
Yeah, they're like.
It's pretty badass.
Absolutely horrifying.
Yeah, I feel like I do. It's kind of like that. What's that instrument that it's like a giant long tube? I forget, for some reason it escapes me.
Didgeridoo.
Yes. It's like that, but with throats.
Yeah, you're in Australia. How do you know what that is?
I don't know. Like, is that an Australian thing? Like,
yes.
Yeah, you can tell that I'm really isolated up here. I really don't know where that belongs to or where it's from.
Yeah, so Mick is a longtime supporter of the podcast. He was actually he was in the first group of people that I talked to about this a long time ago. So he's been working on music for us for quite a while. The latest
Super
track
fun.
that's reunited with the outro, he literally messaged me out of nowhere. He was like, hey, I have a boss theme for you. Put this shit in. I was super stoked. Mick, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who the fuck are you?
Well, my name is Mick. I am a man. I am 27. I make my payments on time. I found myself in Australia amidst the coronavirus crisis. I didn't plan any of it. But no, I am working as a farmer out here. I came here for vacation. It's working out a little differently than what we wanted. And so now Ash and I are on a farm. I'm picking mangoes, pruning mango trees, picking avocados. And actually today, fantastic news, Ashley just got a job. She got accepted at a hospital in Toowoomba, which is, a couple hours away from here. So we're really excited. At the beginning of August, we're going to be moving down there so that she can start working at the hospital and I can become a stay-at-home husband.
That's that's awesome. Congrats to Ash. For anybody who's unaware, Ashley is his sister.
I just took a dark twist.
I'm just kidding. Ash is his very loving, very supporting partner. She is an incredible, incredible person and a fucking awesome nurse. So that's awesome. Congrats to Ash. That's fantastic.
Yeah, she's here now, but she's just sleeping and nursing a headache. So hopefully she feels better soon. Yeah. Trying to be as loud as I can.
Mick, you and I are longtime friends. How did we meet?
Oh boy. We actually met where this all started was in Korea about 5 years ago now, I'd say. So I'll never forget the day I walked into SLP and I was wearing my University of Guelph sweater. And I looked around the room and I just saw you in your purple Western sweater. And I was like, no friggin' way. And I think after that, we hit it off. I really needed help to get around. And you were the first guy to be like, I'm going to show you what's what and where to buy your toothpicks and your groceries and your toilet paper. And we just hit it off that's just how it started. And we took off.
We did. And we spent many a nights with some other friends playing lots of video games. Obviously, we always spent a ton of time, cooped up in my apartment playing Diablo, playing Rocket League. And Mick and I have been friends for a long time, and he's a huge supporter of the podcast, and he makes fucking awesome music. And now, Mick, so you're going to be starting your own business right now. Tell us a little bit about that if you're ready to.
Oh, yeah, totally ready to. It's not up yet, but it's something that I've been wanting to do for a while. So I've just basically put up a website. Well, I'm still working on it. It's not live, but I've pretty much finished designing it. So anyways, I'm going to be offering mixing and mastering services because I love what I do. Obviously, I like making music and I kind of want to make that into my source of income. So I'm going to start kind of broad. It's just going to be mixing and mastering for now, but like hopefully I can niche down and do like maybe hip hop mixing and mastering or something else. But really excited to finish that website up. Like today I was working on setting up my emails all day. It was one of those things where you work on it all day, nothing works out, and you decide to go with a different option instead. So there's been some hurdles to overcome. But yeah, I'm really pumped to have that finished hopefully next week and up and running. And then yeah, maybe get my first client in the next month.
That'd be awesome, man. Well, as soon as it's ready, please send it over to us. We will plug it and leave it in the show notes for anybody who's curious. They'll definitely can check that out. But as is tradition, we are going to be starting with a round of random questions. And as we have been doing for an eon now, we're going to make the guests ask all of us. So Mick, you're on the fucking stage here, whether you're prepared or not. You know what this shit is. So Mick, who do you want to start with, and what are you asking?
Oh, I'm definitely going to start with you first. All right, Matt. So you got to tell me. So would you rather have to sprint every time you use your legs, no matter what the distance, or have to yell anytime you wanted to say anything?
I have to spread? What do you mean?
Sprint.
Oh, sprint.
Yeah, like it doesn't matter if you have to like.
I was like, what am I
get up and like pick up a pen or something, you have to full out sprint to get it.
Both of these suck. Like, sure, like the yelling can be effective in a classroom, but not so much in a library. And then the sprinting, I'm just going to...
like you wanted to have sex, you couldn't just like whisper it. You'd have to like say it.
I'm having so much fun!
Exactly. That's funny.
Any airport and try and talk about problems you're having. Just like, I want you to change my ticket.
Fuck, I think I just have to sprint everywhere. I look stupid, but at least I can talk my point across. But like... If I like, can you imagine like a kid puts up their hand, I turn to them and just fucking all out sprint to them like 4 feet away,
knocking over desks, flying cups and books. sorry, Kevin.
Yeah, I think, man, that's a really good question. I think I'd have to sprint everywhere though, because like that would get me into shape pretty well, I think.
Yeah.
And then like B, at least I can talk my way out of it after. If I'm just yelling at everybody all the time, they're going to get very confused.
Yeah, fair enough.
Probably.
You're probably going to break down and cry. I just want to walk.
Yeah, but at least I can cry at a normal speaking at the top of my legs.
You would choose sprinting everywhere. That would be your choice.
I'll take sprinting everywhere over yelling all the time. Fuck, that's a good question. All right.
I would love to see that for a day. Just like if you lost the bet to make you do that, that would be hilarious.
Man, we'd go viral so fast.
Yeah, sprint everywhere.
All right, Mick, who are you targeting next?
All right, I'm targeting Destiny next for sure. Okay.
Oh.
So, Destiny, would you rather rip a loud fart every time you forgot something important or forget something important every time you fart?
I think the second one, because I already forget shit all the time. That
was constantly forgetting things.
Yeah, like what if you have a really gassy day? Like that would just fuck your shit up.
You're screwed, yeah.
You just forget your own name. You forget where you live.
Yeah, I think.
I don't know those things.
It'd be like super important stuff that you'd forget in that moment.
Like my name?
So, I don't know. Like,
depends
I guess
how much
so, yeah.
Things to forget.
So I would just never eat beans or cabbage again.
Would this be like a short-term memory thing or a long-term memory thing?
Let's say I'm going to go with like short-term. Like you're going to forget for like half an hour. Let's put it that way. So like if you're mid-interview and you let one squeak out and they ask you where you've worked before, like you're going to totally forget.
Yeah. Either every time you forget something important, you'll fart, or every time you fart, you'll forget something important.
So, like, if I'm doing something, I'm like, fuck, I forgot. I would just fart.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just let one rip. Like
he said, you'd let one rip. Like this would be an audible thing.
Oh,
yeah, it would be loud.
Farting loud and quietly. No, number two.
Okay, fair enough.
Can you imagine like sitting in class with you as a teacher, and then like all of a sudden your teacher's like, and then there's and then just this blank stare will come if you're like squeaking out quiet. And the kids would be like, teacher just reset.
It would be horrible. Like for me, if I was at the gym and that happened to me, I just continuously forget where I am. I just be sitting there asking people like, Guys, do you know where I'm at right now? Like,
Forget
funny.
that you've got weights in your hand and just
Yeah,
like,
what am I
where
doing?
Oh shit.
Can you imagine like mid bench press? Like,
Just drop the bench.
But you know what? I think like you can feel your farts usually, right? Like you
Yeah.
feel them coming.
Yeah.
So if you knew you had that condition, just get somewhere safe.
would you just start writing shit down on your,
Memento style.
Panicking. Yeah.
Just start writing shit down on your arm constantly? Like, oh fuck, I feel a fart. I am at work.
Yeah. That's actually hilarious. That's a good
That's
answer.
a great question.
That's a good workaround too. I mean, memento style. Just always have things tattooed into your arms. All right.
All
Do
right.
you guys want me to hit you with the last one or what?
Hit
Yes.
Darren.
All right.
Okay.
Oh,
Would
boy.
you rather? This is another would you rather. Would you rather drool uncontrollably every time you got horny, or get really, really sleepy every time you got horny?
He already does the first one.
And the second one.
Okay, Vito, done.
Sometimes mid podcast, he looks like he's sleeping and drooling.
Boner alert.
Usually when we're talking about Animal Crossing,
Yeah.
I-
And Isabel.
literally.
Oh man, Darren just passed out mid podcast. You know, I think they also, well, the second one could have its benefits because I also feel like I don't get a lot of good sleep. So maybe if I got horny right before bed, I could sleep better.
But what if you're with a girl?
Then I'm sorry, I guess I'm sleeping tonight.
Man, you ain't gonna have any kind of. Every time we try to have sex, he comes and goes to sleep right afterwards.
So this is just
Listen.
falling asleep immediately.
But the thing is, at least now, like, we're in Corona times, right? So, like,
Yeah.
you have to mask up, right?
Yeah,
so, like,
just
they
drool,
at least
Darren.
cover the
but
drool
you
up.
just start like a pool, see a pool forming in the middle of my mask.
You just, like, lift it up and it'd be like a little waterfall just
I
streaming
feel
out.
like it's like when in movies when guys get boners and they're like they have to think of something else to make the boner go down.
Yeah.
That's what you should do to make the drooling stop.
I'm picturing him just like full golden retriever, just like a sloppy mess.
Yeah, like
All the time.
how there's a lot of drooling, I'm assuming.
People are gonna
Oh
think
yeah,
you're in trouble.
like this is like you're drooling a lot. Like you might as well get like a mask, but with like a bowl attachment. You know.
Well, okay. then screw it because I'm going with number 2 then. At least I can try and fight being sleepy. Like I know I'll
you're
be
just
like
gonna be terrible
uncomfortable.
at sex all the
Just-
time.
You're gonna be like,
That's
you're gonna be like,
the case.
babe, if I fall asleep, that means I'm having a good time.
It means
Trust me, it means I love you.
Go number 2. Number 2. All
All
right.
right, I got a question for Mick. Mick, are you
Yeah.
ready for your first
Oh, shit.
question?
I totally wasn't
Okay.
expecting to flip around. Okay, go for it.
If you had to choose to have excessively long hair in one of these 3 areas,
Oh,
be
God.
it your ears, your nose, or your eyebrows, like let's say like it's intrusive. Like anybody who looks at you, that's the first thing that they're gonna see.
And you can't cut it.
You can't cut it. Every time that you try and cut it, it goes back twice as fast the next day. So like you'll
Okay.
have like until you sleep before like it'll look normal, and then when you wake up, it's like fucking in your face. Eyebrow, nose, or ears.
These all sound detrimental. Like either he's gonna fuck up because he's blinded, he can't breathe, or he's gonna get hit by a car because he can't hear anything.
Well, I mean, it's his bed. Now he's got to die in it.
Yeah.
So
I already know what I want. Baby.
yeah, which one?
I definitely do because I need my ears and the nose. That would just be like so freaking weird, dude. Like walking around with a Fu Manchu sticking out of your nose. Like that's just strange. So I definitely have the eyebrows, and I'd probably just like
Pull it up.
I'd pull them around my head and tie them into a ponytail at the back.
Yes.
Stylish.
Problem
Yes,
solved.
that is stylish.
Yeah. So there you go. That's me. You can't see my face.
I'm just
so good.
I'm just trying to think about what that would look like.
But if he's wearing a hat, you wouldn't be able to tell. It just looked like he had thick eyebrows.
But you'd look at the side of his head, and then they'd just keep going.
Not if you had a hat like this, right?
Yeah, unless you got in like a real tight bun, you know, like pull them right back.
Yeah.
So your face would kind of look a little like a little stretched all the
Probably,
time.
yeah. Or you do that trick that the girls do with the baseball cap, you know, like feed it through the back sort of thing.
You look like you have a little cowlick coming out the back of your head.
Yeah, I'd totally go for the eyebrows. That's my choice.
You could French braid
Right.
them too, and then that would just get them out of
Oh, I
his
like
eye.
that.
There you go.
Just to the side.
Good choice.
Good choice, man. All right, we're gonna move into a kind of a new segment. So normally when we have a new guest on or any guest on, we usually get them to do Game That Matters. And what Mick's brilliant suggestion was actually this was a Mick original. As he was listening to the podcast, he really liked the episodes where we did our gaming history. So what we're gonna start doing whenever a guest comes on is we're gonna get them to do a shorter, condensed 5 to 10 minute version of their gaming history, which will work into the game that matters to them as well. So, Mick, can you give us a condensed game history? What are some of the games you remember from your childhood? What are some games that influenced you? And what are some different periods of your life that maybe certain games relate back to?
Absolutely. And I can do this quick too. So I just love, I love how, just to start, I can relate to all of you based on the kind of video games that you really like and stuff like that. And this podcast has really like helped me get back into gaming and think of it as more of like in terms of mental health, something to help with like relaxing, anxiety, things like that. It's something I never put in my mind before. So anyways, having said that, I feel like it'll make sense where my kind of game history comes from. So anyways, like I've always been drawn to computers. So from like a really young age, I think I was like, actually, you know, it had to be like 96. My mom got like an IBM personal computer. Like you guys know the ones with like the green lines of code that go across the screen. Anyways, I love that. Yeah, it was so cool. And since then I was like always really fascinated by computers. And then I started to get into gaming at friend's house, and like my parents hated video games. Like they didn't let me play. I was like a pure closet gamer. Like I had to go to friends' houses to play video games, to play all the new titles. So when I did, I was like super, super obsessive. And basically it was all forbidden in my house. But the one thing my mom did allow was like computers. So she saw those as having like a dual purpose. Like you could play games, sure, but you can also like do other things with a computer, like work on stuff, send emails, whatever. So she actually agreed to getting us a computer. So we got our first computer. I started with Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that game.
Yes.
Yeah, like I played the shit out of that game, and sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't, and like it was a pain in the ass, but when it did work, I'd play for hours, and I love that. So anyways, eventually like my mom saw that we really like games, and her approach was like she got us a PlayStation 2 for Christmas, but she got it for us. The only two games that we were allowed to play on it were Cat in the Hat and like Pac-Man 3D World, like Pac-Man's take on like Mario 3D. You guys, I don't know if you guys ever played that game, but it was like, it was okay. But yeah, anyways, that's all my sister and I had. So we just like
Pac-Man World 2 is Pac-Man World 2 classic.
Yeah, and it was actually fun, but we voraciously played those two games. Like that's all we had. And that's basically where it started. And then from there, like I said, any chance I could get, like my friends who had video games, like I'd come over and I'd be like, let's play. And then they'd be like, no, I'm bored. Like I've been playing all day. Let's go do something else. I'd be like, oh, what the fuck? Like all I want to do is play video games and I can't. So anyways, that evolved. Like eventually I upgraded my PC. I think my mom got me a better one. And then I started playing Battlefield 2 on PC. And that's like where I really went from. Yeah, I went from like PS2. So I went from PC to PS2, back to PC. I started playing BF2 in high school. I remember I like skipped a week of school. I like did the thermometer and the hot tea trick to fake that I was sick so I could stay home and play Battlefield 2. I was playing so much at the time. I remember like this clan called Team America asked me to like practice and play with them, but that would mean like skipping school, and I couldn't do that. So like I had to give up on that. And then yeah. From there, basically bounced back to like, bounced back to Gran Turismo on PS2, and then so BF2 started like the PC gaming and a little bit of the competitiveness, and then I went back to PS2, started playing Gran Turismo with like one of my best friends, and I hated competitive games, and that made me really love them. It was really weird because I had this like insatiable desire to beat my buddy at Gran Turismo, and that just carried over onto every other game I played after that. And so yeah, and then after that came like Xbox 360 for me. I saved up, bought it, and that was like the biggest FU you could ever do to your parents. You know what I mean? Not that I wanted to, but like they hated video games, and I went out all my hard-earned money, just bought an Xbox 360, and then that's when Halo 3 came into my life, or all the Halo games. And like, yeah, Halo 3 was like, that was like probably one of the biggest games I ever played. I spent so many hours playing Halo 3. And the funniest story was I played so much with one of my buddies back where I lived. And I linked up with a really old friend at that time, and we kind of hit it off. And he was like, "You want to play some Halo 3?" And I was like, "Oh, you play?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course I play." And I was like, "All right, man, let's play. Let's do like a 1v1. You got to be careful though, because I'm pretty good." And I remember we went into this like 1v1 arena, and like I had no idea he's been playing in like MLG and with guys that were the best in Canada. And man, he just like shit on me sideways in our first game. And after that, like I just completely fell in love with it. We started playing together, got really serious into it. Super fun. And then, yeah, like after that, basically university was over. Matt, that's when I met you, and you introduced me to like indie games, which was really cool. I never even knew that world existed until you kind of showed me all these titles on PS4 for the first time. And that's like what got me into all that stuff now, and Steam, especially looking for titles like that. And yeah, I kind of skipped over the N64 phase in university. That's really important. That was going to be my game that matters. But yeah, that was like,
so what was it? What was the game?
Yeah, it was Super Smash Bros. For N64. So
nice.
To tie this into like my video game history, like the 4 years I was in university, you guys probably had little squads like this, but pretty much every single day for at least an hour a day, like I'm not even kidding, we played that game so much that we went through like 3 or 4 controllers. And like, whoa, even those friends that I know now, like every time we see each other, we'll be like, you know, buddy, whatever. And then eventually it'll get down to an argument. We'll be like, all right, well, let's go fire up the Smash. Like, let's settle this. Right. And that's always how it goes down. So that one's definitely been like the biggest one. The most time I spent on a game was there. And then, yeah, Korea happened. And since then, like I've just been totally enjoying it and like looking for indie games. And this podcast has definitely helped me move forward and finding newer and better games to like just get me through some hard times and stuff like that.
So what have you been playing lately?
Under 10 minutes. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
so,
you did actually.
Lately I've been getting into Steam games. Like I bought a laptop for music production while I was abroad, and I figured like I'd just get a really good one so I can play nice games. And so I found this game called Subnautica. Have you guys ever heard of it?
Yes. Subnautica's dope as fuck.
Yeah, it's so good. Like it's like the whole experience, like the audio, like the gameplay, what you're doing is just incredible. I still haven't beat it yet because I'm really like taking my time with it because I'm really enjoying it. But basically, for those of you who don't know, you're just like in an underwater world. You crash land on this alien planet, and you have to survive and start from scratch. You obviously have these like high tech, I guess you'd call them spaceships that you crashed in, and they're kind of not working. So you kind of have to build your own. And it's like an open sandbox underwater survival game. It's really, really epic. And it's just huge. So that's what I've been playing.
They have a second one. Subnautica.
Yeah, it's like Sub-Zero.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really want to get that once I finish this Subnautica. But obviously, like I just recently haven't had the time to get as into it as I would like. But I definitely will check that out. Have you played it?
No, I've just seen some videos on it, but it looks really dope.
Yeah. How far along in Subnautica did you get, Destiny?
I did not finish the game.
Yeah, I haven't finished it either, but anyways, it's freaking awesome. I think like Matt, Darren, I feel like you guys would really get into that game if you had the time. And it's Animal Crossing and Persona 4 and 5.
It's been like 5 weeks of like, what are you up to? Persona? What are you up to? Animal Crossing? Yeah, it sounds about the same. No, I've heard good things about Subnautica, and I don't play a lot of like survival games, but that one does actually interest me more because I really like the undersea element to it, and it looks like there's a lot of like mysterious stuff that like you're not expecting hidden under there.
See, for me, that's exactly why I don't want to play that game. My least favorite level in any game is the fucking underwater level. Almost without fail. Like any game that I play, I'm like, if I have to go underwater, I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm going to hate the next hour.
I assume that if a game is made entirely to be underwater, they had to have done a good job.
I'm sure you're right. I'm sure you're right. But me going into it, I'm going to be fucking already.
What bothers you about being underwater in a game? Like you.
Just generally speaking, I find that like the mechanics are never as strong, and I just fucking like when I jump, I want to jump. I don't want to fucking float.
People can't jump in water like that.
I'm saying that's why I don't want to play water games.
Oh my god!
You can like build your own subs and stuff. It's cool. Sorry, go ahead.
I think you just try it. Just
pretend that you're flying.
It's not even meant for you to be jumping. It's not that type of game.
Yeah.
I just want to jump.
Well, then play another game to jump in.
That's what I'm going to do.
You can't jump in Persona, really.
You have a grappling hook?
No.
Not the original.
It's not the same.
I have a question, Mick. I want to just take a step back. I really want to know, like, what is your favorite game and why is it Cat in the Hat?
Oh boy.
How good is this Cat in the Hat game? No, like, I want to know more about this Cat in the Hat game. Like, what kind of game was it?
It's like a side scroller, like a 3D side scroller, and it was like.
Can you jump?
Yeah, of course you can jump. Yeah.
I'm just asking. Maybe you have a grappling hook instead.
No.
And I forget, but I think like some of the side characters in the Cat in the Hat, I really didn't give a crap about that movie, so I don't remember who they are, but they join you. They like join you to help you do stuff. But yeah, it was like kind of like a side scroller 3D puzzle adventure sort of thing. And like, yeah, it was like a hard 3.7 out of 10.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
You mean Thing 1 and Thing 2? Those side characters?
I don't remember, to be honest. I really don't remember.
Yes, it does. It has Thing 1.
No. I know. What I know it has Thing 1 and Thing 2, but I was going to say, like, I don't think Cat in the Hat is known for having a very robust roster of side characters. I think there's like 3 of them.
Boy and the girl.
There's the boy and the girl.
And then?
I think, yeah.
There's 4 characters.
That's a lot of characters.
That you could choose from to help you. Are you kidding? In Kingdom Hearts, you only have 2.
No, you don't. You get new ones every level.
No, you don't.
Yeah,
most of them
I thought
jump.
you only had Goofy and Donald.
You do usually get someone in the level, but they only stick with you for that level.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't fucking count.
It
Matt.
counts.
No, it doesn't, because then that's just 3. Sorry.
Listen, all I'm saying is that I got nothing. Go on.
No, yeah, that's it, man. Like, I really hope that answered your question. It was really just
I want to play it now.
Yeah, now I'll play this Cat in the Hat PS2
only
game.
because it's one of my favorite books. I didn't watch the movie, but I always loved the book.
The book's always better than the movie. You know?
I don't know. In this case, the movie was.
Wasn't it Mike Myers?
It was. Actually, I rewatched Cat in the Hat, the movie, about like a few years ago.
The cartoon?
the one with Mike Myers.
Oh.
And
wasn't he the killer in one of those movies?
Michael Myers. I was just gonna say Michael Myers. I'm like, no, that would be very different.
That would make
Michael
a
Myers
very different movie.
That movie would be way better.
Yeah.
Right.
But I actually think the Cat in the Hat movie gets more hate than it deserves. It's pretty edgy for a kid's movie.
You know what other movie gets too much hate? Sonic the Hedgehog.
I don't think that gets enough hate,
Why
to
do
be
you hate
honest.
it so much? I thought you said it was okay.
Anyways.
Okay, well, thanks, Mick. That was actually a really, really great inner look into the workings of you in video games as a growing boy.
I hoped I condensed it enough to fit within the 10-minute time frame.
You did, actually.
Yeah.
You nailed it. For me,
Fantastic.
Mick, when I think of you, I always think of us playing Diablo 3 and Rocket League in my apartment.
Oh, man.
Or that
So
time where
good.
you borrowed my PlayStation to play Last of Us. I always think of being like, I was like, you want to borrow my PlayStation? And you're like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Like the day you offered me that, I was like, is this a joke where I'm going to say really? And you're going to be like, nah. Like that was just fantastic. I remember that weekend too. You left for whatever reason. You went to like visit somewhere else or whatever. And then I just had the PlayStation, myself, and like a box of Oreos for the entire weekend. And I finished The Last of Us. It was so good, man. Thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. All right. Well, because Mick is all things music all the time, we wanted to come back around to the music discussion. I know we've had one before, but we wanted to come at it in a bit of a different angle. But before we kind of go too far into looking at how music can affect video games and specifically talking to affect your emotions and mental health, Mick, what is some of your video game music? I know we've talked about ours, but what is some video game music that stands out to you?
Oh man, I gotta say Halo 3. Just the entire score for that game is epic. Like I've listened to that on YouTube, just like in my headphones, walking to work, whenever or whatever. Yeah, it's
in the bathroom.
Actually, yeah. I've definitely played it on my Bluetooth speaker to piss everybody off in the house on the highest volume. You know, like the classic Halo 3 song. That's where you guys pick it up. Come on. Oh God, left me hanging.
I don't know. I don't.
Like the yeah.
You guys got to check that out on YouTube. It's like a video of like 150 dudes crushed into a bathroom, and they're all just singing like the Halo theme song, and like it's just epic. But anyways, yeah. So I definitely put it at Halo 3. That one's huge for me. I just think it's amazing that much effort, time, and money went into making a soundtrack for a video game, and it still holds the test of time. Like it's still amazing to this day. So.
Do you think that the score in Halo 3 had any impact on the actual gameplay, like while you were playing, right? Because we know music can have certain effects on your psyche, right? Which we'll talk about a little bit. But before we get into the specifics, do you think that the music did something for you while you were actually playing?
Elaborate a little more.
So essentially, like when listening to certain types of music, like, so I'm pulling from a study from verywellmind.com. It actually said that, where is it? Yeah, music can improve your cognitive performance. So essentially, depending on the type of music, you might be actually able to like focus better or react better to certain things. So like, do you think that the music, given that maybe because Halo has a more like epic soundtrack and you're running around shooting shit all the time, do you think that the music maybe impacted you without even realizing it, that you were like, oh shit, this music's super epic right now, I need to fucking kick ass, and maybe it helped you do that? Oh,
for sure. Like, dude, the last level where you're driving the Warthog and everything's like blowing up and going crazy. That's like, yeah, for sure. That puts you in the zone. Like all you want to do is like kick alien ass and get through there. And I feel like without the music, that'd be a totally different experience. Like it might be cool, but it's like take away half the fun, you know?
For sure. Darren, what about you? Do you think that playing something like Doom, which has like a very heavily metal soundtrack, do you think that how much does that impact the actual game?
How did you know that I was going to talk about Doom?
I knew.
That's exactly what I was thinking about.
Buddies.
Darren, before you get started on Doom, I just want to say I played a tiny bit of it. I really want to play Doom. Like I've just seen it, and I want to say from what I heard, like the audio, even just like when you close the menu screen or open a menu screen, they like filter out the music really quickly when you hit certain buttons. I think it's incredible. Like, but go on. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah. Yeah, the way the fights are programmed is that actually for different points for enemy spawns and for different points of like you getting lower health versus being full health versus like streaks without damage, like it actually has all the music segmented into pieces so that as you're playing, the puzzle pieces fall into different orders to try and like work with the flow of the fight better. And I have to say it works perfectly. Like especially with Doom Eternal, which I actually ended up liking Doom Eternal's soundtrack better. And I think it did a better job of putting me in the mindset of the level. And like when I'm doing a fight in Doom, like I feel so much more focused because like the pulse of the song is like almost timed perfectly to like the pulse of my like gun blasts. And it just puts you in this like mindset of I must kill everything in sight. And so when you die or where you're on edge, so it's almost like helps the adrenaline flow to keep you more alert to keep up with a game that's very, very like demanding reaction wise.
Yeah.
Like it's very mechanically demanding, especially in some of the later fights. So you need to be like an adrenaline alert mindset. And at the end of most fights in Doom Eternal, I actually feel like drained emotionally.
So do you think that especially like in a game like Doom, do you think that can also have a negative effect as well, where maybe the music can contribute to feel overwhelming?
I don't think so. I think in Doom's case, I mean, maybe there's a possibility, but I think in Doom's case, it actually, I can't see a way where it would be detrimental, because if you're feeling so drained after a fight, you need something to get you back into the I'm ready to fight mindset for the next one. So to pull like the music back in to just like give you that second win to fight the next fight, I think is really important. And like, I don't think that game would work nearly as well without that music. And that's why I'm actually really upset that apparently Mick Gordon is not going to be working.
Who's Mick Gordon?
Mick Gordon is the composer of the Doom soundtrack.
Yes. I've heard that him and Bethesda and id have been at odds.
Yeah, so he's not going to work on the soundtrack for the DLC or for the next game. I think that's we'll see if someone else can like replicate that, because he did a really, really good job.
That sucks. That really sucks. Because yeah, I've heard, even like I haven't gone back to Doom Eternal just because of Animal Crossing Persona, but the music was one thing that I really did appreciate.
And also, really quick question, Mick. Are you playing Doom 2016, like the original remake, or are you playing the Doom Eternal, the sequel?
No, I was playing Doom 2016. I haven't seen the new one yet, but I've heard good things.
Yeah.
Destiny, what about you? Like, you play a lot more indie games, right? Where the music can have a much different effect, right? Like in something like Don't Starve Together, I'm not sure like how present is the score or the underlying music in a game like that compared to something like a Doom.
I never played Doom, so I can't really do a comparison. I think when I played Doom, it was like the really old one.
Yeah.
Those are great.
Yeah, so the music wasn't so great back then.
Mm-hmm. But
I don't think when I play Don't Starve, I don't get like an emotional reaction from the music.
But do you feel like, are there certain musical cues when maybe night comes or when there's certain things around you that might make
there's a clock up at the top and it lets you know that night's coming. There's like no real change, like drastic change in music like that. I think one of the games that I really like the music in, I didn't play it, I watched it for the story, but was God of War. And I just like the sound engineering in that period. Like when he's walking through the snow, you can actually hear it like crunching. Right. So not just the music, but the sound overall, the sound design was like great in that. And you guys already know that I love like Streets of Rage, like the soundtrack from that. And I definitely feel like certain levels, like whenever you played old school games, the music was always more upbeat when you were about to get to a boss fight.
Yeah.
And it like just got you pumping. For example, if I'm driving, I can't listen to Ludacris Move Bitch Get Out the Way. Because if I start listening to it, I start speeding without even knowing I'm speeding.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know if there's any games that like really like stuck out to me for those reasons. I think like combined with the scene, like I know, okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to bring up Final Fantasy VII, but like at the end when you fight Sephiroth, it's like a whole orchestra. And I'd never experienced that in a game before.
Yeah, for sure.
So like that was really amazing. But you know, I don't actually, even though I love that game, I don't actually listen to the soundtrack. I mean, it was an amazing soundtrack, but it's like, I don't know, I don't actually listen to it.
Yeah.
What about you, Matt?
For me, like, I feel, I don't know, I'm a bad test case when it comes for music and video games. I play a lot of games with the sound off.
Yeah, he does. We talked about this.
Yeah, we talked about this. I brought this up last time, but for anybody who didn't listen, like, especially on the Switch, like if I'm on the go, if I'm playing something like on the subway or even for a bit at work, generally speaking, I usually have my a headphone in, but I think one of the more frustrating things is that now I'm pretty much only using Bluetooth headphones. The only time I ever use wired headphones anymore is if I'm like wired in onto the controller on my PS4, which the Switch doesn't support Bluetooth headphones, right? So like I don't want to carry around a pair of wired headphones just to use for my Switch if I'm carrying on my Bluetooth headphones. So like generally speaking, like I don't use them, and I don't hear a lot of the music. Like I remember you, Darren, talked about like you and I had a conversation once about Super Mario Odyssey, and you said how incredible the music was there. I couldn't, if you played a piece of music, I could not tell you that it was from that game.
But I can't play a game. The only game I've been able to play with turning off the music is Animal Crossing because it's so repetitive.
Right.
And I already know what the music is. But if I'm playing a game and as I'm progressing in the game and the music usually changes through a game, I find it like I'm missing out on something if I'm not hearing the sound. So like when you were wherever we were and you were watching a show while you were playing the game, I was like,
how are you doing that?
Yeah, I was like, how are you focusing on both?
Yeah. I don't know. For me, like if I'm at home playing something on my PlayStation, I obviously have the sound on, I'm listening to the music. But if I'm playing something on the go, almost never am I actually listening to the music from the game.
Is that because it's on a Switch?
I think it's because it's on a Switch and just because I don't have, like, it doesn't have the Bluetooth functionality.
Yeah, you don't have the
only handheld game you've ever had?
No. I've had Vita and I've had plenty of Game Boys and stuff as well. But again, same
kind
thing.
Of before Bluetooth headphones really caught on.
Yeah, like
so most people just had wired headphones and that was it.
I carry both.
Yeah. So like for me, like when I think of music, the one that most definitively comes to mind, and I guess you just brought up Final Fantasy, so now in turn I have to bring up Persona, but like Persona 5 soundtrack is the only like, but like that soundtrack and that score is like the only type of media music outside of like Your Name, like the anime movie, that I'll actually go and listen to the music when I'm not playing the game. And that's just because I found the music to be so fucking good that I actually
all of the series.
No, in Persona 5 specifically.
Okay.
And how do you think the music in Persona enhanced the experience of playing Persona?
The gameplay.
I found that because I feel like the music is so ingrained into the gameplay. Like it's even like when you're doing shit, like even the menus have so much substance and flair to them. Then the music is kind of kicking alongside, even just like the simple act of like going in your menu to check something, like the menus move and pop and the music kind of swells around as you're doing those things as well.
Right.
And everything has a really satisfying sound to it. So like the music in Persona 5 is really like jazzy and it's really upbeat and it's a lot of fun. And like, the whole tone of the game, even though you're dealing with like shitty adults, it's like the game, like it feels like it's always pushing you to succeed even when shit's bad. And like the music just sounds fucking awesome. Like even like my downtime, like when you're like the music will change depending on what you're doing, obviously. But like if you're in a palace running around, the music's in your face, it's loud. If you're studying, it's quiet, and sometimes you don't even realize that it's there. But like there's certain things.
Sorry, I want to push a little bit more on this one because I mean I played Persona 5 too, and I agree that I really do genuinely like the soundtrack and I listen to it on my own as well. But like what makes you think that it specifically enhances like moments in the game? Like, cause it's good music.
Yeah.
But like, how do you think it will like improve a situation, like a dramatic situation or like the palaces or like, like you said, like the studying?
I think it's because like I tie certain pieces of that music to what I'm doing in the game.
Okay.
And like they're kind of almost married to each other. Like the theme from LeBlanc, like where you stay, like I always like whenever I'm studying or even sometimes when I'm reading something, like I'll hear it in the back of my mind sometimes. So like the music, I think just kind of married itself to the game in a way that has never really happened to me with games before.
Do you think that's because of the music or do you think that's just because of the game?
I think it's both. Obviously I have Persona bias, but like I think it's also just because the music is just also really good. Mick, what do you think makes a good video game soundtrack?
Just going off of what you were saying, I'll start by saying this, like, you need people who are like actually good audio engineers and invested in audio like properly to start working on a video game to really make the difference. Because I can tell when, for example, like you guys are talking about menus and Persona and how it all just works around the menu. Like to me, they've hired someone who is like an audio engineer and is also an artist, because when say I open a game and I start playing it and I'm like, man, it'd be so cool to have this kind of sound associated with this button or that kind of sound associated with this button, and it would fit the theme of this game in this way. And so like, I think it starts there. So definitely someone who is like really invested is the first step, because there's tons of people who get into audio like anything else, you know, they just kind of ended up there and they're like, well, you know, I'm making a living. So I'm going to keep working on this project, but they're not really like, it's not their passion to like to make the audio fuse with the video game experience. And then from there, like obviously whoever you bring in, like the more creatives you have working on the soundtrack, the better it's going to be. And like, I don't even know, like going back to Halo 3, like that's an amazing example. They just like hired the best orchestra you could possibly hire and away they went. You know what I mean? Like not every video game has that kind of budget. But I feel like there's a hole in the market, and like it hasn't really been explored yet. But I feel like a lot of these producers, like electronic music producers, like especially dubstep producers, like their skills could be implemented so effectively in video games these days, and it's not happening yet. But I have a feeling that like people are going to start catching on that these guys are so good at designing sounds and making things work together that like, I don't know. I hope to see in the future a little bit more, I guess, like collaboration between electronic music producers and video games, because I really do feel like those guys just go hand in hand. Like, for example, even just making that track for the end of this podcast for me, like I was like so inspired to do that just based off of video games, my experience with music and video games, and like marrying the two. I really wanted to do it. And I feel like if more people had the opportunity to do that or could come forward and do that, I think that would make some incredible soundtracks for games in the future. And that's kind of, sorry, go ahead.
What do you think is stopping that from happening now? Is it just because of the industry as a whole, or do you think that it's also on the EDM side? Like, what do you think is preventing more EDM artists or whatever, right? Like from working on games?
I just think there's like a lack of understanding. I feel like the people who create the games don't really see those guys as a resource. And those guys don't really see video games or like working on them as an output for their creativity. And until somebody like bridges that gap and is like, hey, holy crap, you guys are really good at like making these really specialized sounds that could work really well here, and we're going to pay you for it really well. Like, do you want to do this? Like, yeah, of course it's happening here and there, but on a larger scale, I just feel like those two worlds haven't quite mixed yet.
I think you're right, because it does feel like, I wonder how much of it is just like a budget issue, right?
Yeah.
Like even with like smaller indie developers who might not have the funds to hire on someone who may have a bigger name, right? Or may have that kind of pull. Because like Darren, like we've talked about Undertale before and like how fucking incredible that soundtrack is, right?
And what's interesting specifically about Undertale is that Toby Fox, the creator of Undertale, is also the composer, and he wrote the soundtrack for the game before he made the game.
Wow.
He made the soundtrack and score first, and then made a game around what he felt fit those pieces that he created, which I think also kind of goes to help, because a lot of people talk about Undertale's music being really good, but I think Undertale's like, especially close to the end of the game without going into spoilers, the score and the themes that they play at the ending sequence, like really, really mirror the kind of like emotional journey that your character's gone through throughout the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's such a unique situation. It works so well because that he's like, these are some pieces that I really wanted to make. And now I'll let the game come out of the inspiration that I had, or like the emotion that I had from these pieces.
That's super interesting. I did not know that that's how it came about.
Yeah. And I think that's he did the same thing for is like Deltarune.
Yeah,
that
the
he
demo
created.
Yeah.
That's
I also
awesome.
want to add, like, really quickly, I was just thinking, I think I remember, like, one of the Call of Duty games, I'm pretty sure, I don't quote me on this, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure, like, some high-profile producer, like Skrillex or somebody, worked on a lot of the kind of the special effects and the sound effects. So,
really?
like, based off of everything I said, maybe that sort of does exist, but, like, honestly, I'm pretty involved in the scene, and I just haven't seen that. So I just wanted to say that in case anyone is, like, listening in the future, and they're like, no, you're totally wrong. But, yeah.
No, for sure, because I think it's a really interesting point that I haven't really considered before, right? Like, especially because these people make music for a living, right? And if they're able to kind of help marry the game to it, then I think that would be really, really interesting. Destiny, you mentioned earlier that like Animal Crossing is one of the games that you won't turn the music on because it's repetitive. Do you think?
No. I mean, I'll turn it on, but it's a game that I can play without music. Yeah.
Do you think? How do you think the music plays into that game?
I don't think it really does much in the game. Like, there's no emotion. There's not. I don't know. I don't feel like hearing the music makes me feel any sort of way.
That's really interesting. I feel completely opposite.
Okay.
I feel like, because the thing with the Animal Crossing soundtrack is that it changes every hour. So each hour has its own theme.
Mm-hmm.
And all the hours' themes are actually like composed to blend in to kind of follow the flow of the day of like the sun coming up and sun coming down. And I thought especially New Horizons soundtrack was really interesting because it really, well, like obviously it's got like the whole like island themes going on, but also it made me feel like really relaxed playing it, especially because like I get so frustrated sometimes when I think I'm trying to craft like 10 different things and I have to go into the menu constantly to try and craft it. I'm like, if it wasn't for this like calming music, I feel like I would just like turn the game off.
Oh, no, it doesn't do that for me. It's just there, like as background noise.
Yeah. And like I think that's kind of part of the genius of that of the Animal Crossing score specifically, just because like the game is by design very repetitive, right? You're doing the same kinds of things, you're just doing them slightly differently for like whatever your end goal is. And I feel like the music is also repetitive in that day, like in that way, like you'll like it because like you're gonna be hearing the same thing day in and day out, right? Like as you go in to do things, like usually when I play at the same kind of time frame every day.
I don't know if we should call the music repetitive. I feel like that's kind of like
I don't mean it in a bad way. I just mean that like it's
Are you dissing the music, bro?
Repetitive if it's repeating.
No, because
song.
repetitive is usually used as like a derogatory term, like, oh, this is repetitive. It's like too many times.
We're using it as a positive thing, not derogatory, just stating it repeats itself.
How would you say that differently?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I just struggled for a quick way to say it.
Yeah.
But like just like for me, like because of what you're doing in the game so much is you're doing the same thing over and over again. I feel like the music in the same way, Darren, because I get used to the music, it's almost like a welcoming thing when I start playing that game again. And even though I'm doing the same thing over and over again and the music is kind of matching that, like I feel like they go hand in hand nicely together. So I didn't mean that in a bad way.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's repetitive.
Yeah, it definitely can be. Like it definitely can be at times. I just think that it kind of suits the game.
I definitely think the music suits the game, but I don't need the music to play the game.
Yeah.
So like if I were playing, I don't know, like I feel like if you play Halo, listening to the music is part of the experience. Like you need the music to experience the game fully. You don't need the music to experience Animal Crossing fully. Maybe you do because you get upset when you're trying to make 10 things, but you can change. You also have the ability to change the music in Animal Crossing if it's not the music that you want to listen to.
I'm just thinking about from like a game development perspective of like, I mean, the developers put that music in the game for a reason.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Like, I don't think they make music with the intention of just like turning it off.
I think Animal Crossing is just a bit of a...
Wait. I'm not saying that they put the music in the game with the intention of you turning it off. I'm saying that you can do the same repetitive things that you do in the game without the music. You can hunt for bugs. You can go fishing. You can shake the tree. You don't need the music to do that. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
If you want to play the music the whole time, you can. I'm just saying I don't need it to play the game.
My argument then, in most games, you don't need the music.
No, you don't need the music, but you're not doing the same thing over and over, day in and day out either.
And then you're not getting the developer's intended experience.
I got it the first 2 weeks I played it.
I think that's the fundamental difference with Animal Crossing, though, is because you are meant to play it for a long time. You know what I mean? So you do get used to it.
Sure.
Like something with Halo, like you're going to play through the campaign. You're not going to hear the same piece of music over and over and over and over and over again.
Right.
I guess that's what I'm saying. I play it every day. And I hear the same music every day. So I don't need that music to do the things that I do
every
in the
time,
game.
yeah.
Okay. I was just going to say, like, yeah, I think it depends really on the game. Like what, obviously, like some games you don't need to have like, top of the line, state of the art audio because the game serves a bit of a different purpose and stuff like that. But I also do think it's super subjective. So like, for example, like the soundtrack in Super Smash, like it's so old and some would say so shitty, but like when I play that game, like I need to hear that. Whereas in like another game that might have an incredible soundtrack or it just might be like audibly, sonically amazing, I can like you guys like pop in a headphone and just listen to music instead. You know what I mean? So I really think it depends on the individual. Like I'm hearing that maybe Darren like really just enjoys the music to what he's doing. You know what I mean? And Destiny's kind of like, I'm over it. I like something else. And that's like just the beauty of it as well. Like it's a mixed bag.
That's a nice way to say that. that was very nice. Thank you.
Nicely put, Mick. Mick, I want to know if you could pick any like existing game franchise to make the music for the next upcoming game. Let's say that like the big game developer or small game developer calls you up and says, "Okay, Mick, we want you to make the music for the next insert game name here." What soundtrack would you want to make, or what score would you want to develop?
You know what? Like from even just the brief amount of time I played it and the style, I'm gonna. Even though I've only maybe put in a total of 5 minutes into Doom, just from what I heard, like menus and the kind of sounds they were using and the kind of ideas behind what I was hearing is like right up my alley. And I was like, this is what I've been waiting for in a video game to hear, like what I like, what pertains to me. And like, I think it would have to be a game, something like that, like either Doom itself, like, or something similar for sure. Because, I really like, let's say like light, melodic music, but like my passion lies with like the heavy weird stuff that nobody likes to listen to except for like a select few people.
Maybe you should send an email to Bethesda because I hear that they have an opening.
Yeah, I was gonna say if that guy's out, give it a call.
I was gonna ask, like, what does it take for like if you really wanted to work on a game? Like, I know for animation we need a demo reel. So what would you need if you wanted to apply for like a video game to do music? What's the process?
So taking a guess, like you'd obviously need to share a portfolio and they need to know what your skills are like. So I feel like you definitely need, like, I don't know for sure, but I feel like they would want at least a sample pack. So samples, meaning sounds that you've created, like little one-shot hits, just to hear like what you've got and how different your sound is so that like they know whether or not you're basically using other people's samples and manipulating them a little bit, or if you're completely creative, making your own and they sound good. And also probably like a few tracks or songs that like fit what they want. You know what I mean? Like if you sent in, if you write classical music and you send in that as like your portfolio to a game developer who's going to produce a game like Doom, they're obviously not going to want to hire you for that because your styles don't match. But yeah, you're definitely going to want to like make stuff, samples, and maybe music that pertains to that style, and send that in.
So I know like for like when I was in school, they would tell us like take a clip of animation and like animate it in your artistic style. So that they could animate, but also see our skill. Would you do something like, I don't know, maybe take a minute from Doom, like some gameplay, and like put your own overlay of sound on it and send that in to show like, look, this is the kind of music that I want to do. This is the kind of sound work I can do, so that they can see that it marries up with their style and they have a visual that goes with the music.
I think, I didn't even think of that. I think like that would totally work as well. Like these are just like, if I wanted to, excellent ideas to put to use if I was going to submit something for something like that. But yeah, I totally think that would be even better to layer your style over, their already developed game so they can see how well it fits.
So like Doom is known for having like a super like heavy metal soundtrack. Would you then want to do would you make it like the same kind of heavy metal, or would you try and create something that fits the same tone, but even if it's more dubstep EDM side of it, right? Would you want to do something like bring that style of music into the game, or would you try and make, like for Doom specifically, because that's the one that you talked about, or would you make your own style like heavy metal? Like which side would you fall on?
Oh, definitely the electronic side. If you think about heavy metal, death metal, screamo, all that stuff, that's where I came from in high school. Like that, I listened to like Slipknot, As I Lay Dying, A Day to Remember, and that basically morphed into the electronic side of things, because as the technology came out for people to make that, it's the same heaviness in the music, but with an electronic aspect. So I feel like the style of, let's say, dubstep and this heavy metal, I think they're actually related. They're cousins, you know what I mean? And it would just be a hybrid. So I would definitely, I like pushing the envelope and I like how things progress. So I feel like it would be a nice twist to add to start incorporating some like dubstep, but not just like crap, it'd have to be really good and have to really mix. But there's already artists like Phase One, a dubstep artist. He's really good at putting deathcore and heavy metal together with dubstep and making it sound really good. And for people who like that sort of thing like me, it's crazy. It's just this completely new genre that's emerging that no one's ever really heard before. And it's like, oh my God, I'm hearing this first and this is amazing. You know what I mean? So it could be in a video game. That would be a great way to expose something like that, or just to show people that this is what's possible, So I definitely tilt on the electronic side.
I think that'd be really cool to see like existing franchises brought back, like with maybe different artists, right? Like as cool as it is to see like you said, Darren, like what was his name? The composer for
Mick Gordon,
who's done Doom and Doom Eternal, right? Mm-hmm. Like as cool as it is for him to come back, I think it's super interesting to give somebody else a chance.
Yeah.
Right. Like Mick, like how would you feel like with something like that? Right. Because it's like, as an artist, I'm sure you have a sense of ownership over the things that you create, right? Like if you were, let's say you did do the next Doom and then did the Doom after that, they were like, we're going to go with somebody else to get a different sense of style. Like as an artist, how would you feel about that? Like while the game would have something, you maybe have like a different marriage of sounds. Do you feel like you'd be like, well, fuck, I wanted to go back and do it? Or would you be like, okay, now I can go do something else?
For me personally, like I think it would be awesome just to pass the torch off. Like if you do a good enough job, like what you've done should stand alone, like stand the test of time, and everyone's going to like it. And I feel like you can make room for someone else to come up and kind of, I guess, show their chops. So for me, like I wouldn't mind at all. Like I would definitely try to just work on as many things as possible, but it really depends. Like, I mean, for other artists, like I know some people who just would want to see the project through to the end. So I guess if they started on a game like Doom, they'd want to see it through for as many renditions of that as possible.
For sure.
And I'm guessing also, like, if you were going to make some kind of game soundtrack, you'd probably want to do something very different from what the previous composer did, right? Because I feel like there's a chance that if you're trying to do something too similar to what was done before, I think from like a fan perspective, a lot of fans would be like, well, they're just trying to like replicate that style. You're not going to be as good, or you'll be constantly compared to the previous one. So if you do something unique, then at least like, look, this is mine. I can say that I did this, right?
Yeah. You really have like two choices when it comes to something like that. Like if you're following in someone's footsteps, the first choice, which is really hard, you either have to be really, really good, if not better than the person who made it, and copy in their style so that, you know, you're not letting them down or the fans down. This goes for dubstep. And I feel like video games like series that come after, like, you know, 1, 2, 3, whatever, you have to be equally as good, if not better, to kind of replicate what they've done in a way that people are going to enjoy and like, or like you said, Darren, completely spin it around, like totally new style, take it in a completely different direction so that people know that that's the intention. Like you're not copying. The whole purpose of changing it up was to change it up, you know?
For sure. All right, guys. Well, I think that was a great talk all about music and video games. And we're going to move on to just a little bit of news because we're gonna get through a couple news pieces because Mick actually surprised us with some sort of game. We don't know what the game is, but we're gonna play it in just a little bit. But before we get there, we're going to very quickly talk about Dark Souls. Darren, as I find a source for this really quick, tell me about why you're excited about Dark Souls.
So, I mean, I'm always excited about Dark Souls, but it just came to light that over the lifetime sales of the series, which just includes the main 3 Dark Souls, 1, 2, and 3, does not include Demon Souls, does not include Bloodborne, and that the sales of the series have surpassed 27 million units.
Yeah, so I'm going to hop in here for just a sec. I'm playing from Gamma Sutra. This went up 20 hours ago. The Dark Souls franchise has topped 27 million lifetime sales. According to developer FromSoft, Dark Souls 3 is the best-selling entry in the franchise and has sold over 10 million copies since launching back in March 2016. So Darren, 27 million over a series lifespan, like across 3 games, right?
Yeah.
Is huge.
It is huge.
And why is it so special that it's Dark Souls?
Well, because Dark Souls has always been considered to be kind of like a niche game experience. And especially the first one, I think, came out at a time where games were trying to move towards being more linear, more like easier experiences. And a lot of people were like, oh, what happened to those challenging games of yesteryear? Like for the Super Nintendo and the NES and stuff like that. And where's the challenge? Everything's very handholdy. Like it's the same time that like Skyward Sword came out, like the most handholdy Zelda game. And Dark Souls came in to be like very difficult, to be very like not caring about whether you understand it or not. And to be so successful to be sold for like to make 27 million units.
Yeah.
Like that's not a niche experience at that point. That is like, it's become so influential that like so many games have borrowed from it at this point.
For sure. Like I think it's pretty safe to say that it kind of, if not recreated the genre of hard, like 3D video games, right? Like, I mean, like there's definitely harder experiences, but like, I feel like those were always more difficulty modes rather than the game being built like that from the start.
I mean, like Breath of the Wild, the latest Zelda game took influence from Dark Souls and put Dark Souls style mechanics into its combat system and stuff, which is like, if you make it into a Nintendo game, then like you've definitely become like influential. And also I think it just goes to show that single player, like complete experiences with no microtransactions and everything like that can still be like financially successful.
Yeah.
From like a big AAA budget perspective.
For sure. That's awesome. Good. Shout out to the devs over at FromSoft. That's fantastic news. And I mean, they've just been getting, bigger and bigger with Sekiro and Bloodborne. So good for them. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. And that's it for the news. Mick, you have a game for us.
Yeah, I do actually. I thought it'd be pretty fun to play a little bit of trivia with you guys. I don't know how well you guys are going to do. I'm actually really curious, but so basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ask you questions that pertain to the podcast and what you guys have said or done in the past. And you have to guess. Yeah, you guys have to guess who said it or who did it, whatever. And then obviously you'll write it down on a piece of paper. And I don't know if you guys want to do bragging rights or like the winner has to tell someone else to like butt check a beer. I don't know.
Yeah, Matt's gonna track this.
How many questions is it, Mick?
10, 11.
Perfect.
But some of them are really short. Yeah.
Okay, let's go for 11
excited.
then.
Okay.
All right. Guys, any bets? When is the winner?
No.
We'll have to talk about bets after.
Okay, we'll figure out the bet. But Mick, this is awesome. This is going to be fucking great. So hit us with the first one then.
So I'm going to give you a little hint. The first one, I've already given the answer away at the beginning of the podcast, so maybe that'll help just to get things warmed up. But
Okay, go ahead.
what was that?
Nothing. I had a question, but I'm like, you know what? Just ask your question, and it'll probably answer my question.
For sure. Okay, so out of the hosts, whose favorite side of a dice is 2?
Oh shit!
Out of the hosts?
Well, the three of
you
us.
guys.
Oh, right. I'm like, we only have one host. Oh, yeah.
Co-host.
Whose favorite side of the dice?
I'm gonna guess Destiny.
Are you guys? All right.
I feel like it's me too because I think I said something stupid about
Okay,
it.
wait. Do we want to get him to ask all the questions first? We'll write down our answers and we'll review the answers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's number 1. Go for number 2, Mick.
Okay, sure. That's a great way to do it. Actually, and I just realized I made a mistake. That wasn't the answer I gave away. I actually gave away this answer at the beginning of the podcast. Who said, "I am feeling like a brand new woman" in episode 2?
Okay, I know this one.
Yeah.
Who said that they might have had diarrhea in episode 4?
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
This is good. I hope everyone listening at home is writing this
Shut
down
up!
This is fucking awesome.
All right. Who said that they would rather be a 5-bladed propeller hat than a 3-bladed fan?
Listening to these questions, but what the fuck do we talk about? Because I don't remember any of it.
I feel like I know who that was.
Okay.
Okay. So which host said that they would be a bed if they were an item of furniture, and bonus points for telling us why they wanted to be the bed?
Oh my god.
I have an idea for this one. Okay, number 6.
Okay, so this one, you guys are actually gonna have to answer it loud, I think. But so it'll be Destiny and Darren working together, and Matt, you'll just be listening.
Oh.
Okay. So what sitcom show did Matt create out of his favorite video game characters?
Oh.
Do you guys
Something-
remember?
I thought.
That's what I thought too. I thought it'd be something like Friends,
Something
but like
like-
who would the friends be?
I don't
Yeah,
remember.
it was a sitcom show Matt had to create out of his favorite video
think
game
it was my
characters.
Too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a bunch of boys. He picked a bunch of guy characters.
And someone from Persona.
Yes.
Some Persona person.
God, I don't remember what kind of show it was.
And for some reason, I also think it includes Kratos, and I don't know why.
Did it include-
Do you guys want me to run through it real quick to give you the answer?
Yeah.
I want to hear this one. I want to hear this one now.
Okay, so his show was based around Sora from Kingdom Hearts, and his supporting cast was Conker, Travis Touchdown, Cloud from Final Fantasy VII, and Reese from Persona 4. And the whole gig of the show is that Sora gets stuck in a uni town and has to join a frat house, and the other characters would try to turn him over. Yeah.
Yeah, no Kratos at all.
Yeah,
Absolutely
I was
none.
totally way off.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I remember answering that question. I had no recollection of what I said.
Do you remember who asked that?
I think it was you, Destiny. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
That sounds like a
I
question.
think that sounds like a Destiny question.
What?
Yeah.
It just does.
Okay.
Okay, number 7.
All right. So that was like a weird one. But yeah, okay. Number 7. Here we go. So which host said, and I'm not going to give you any context, which host said, "I would like to have my ass slapped" in episode 7?
It's either me or Darren.
It's either me or Destiny. Both of us could have said this
Yeah.
for various reasons.
Why? For so many of these questions, I feel like it's one of you two.
Yeah. I'm like,
And either one could be a good answer.
Matt doesn't want his ass slapped. I want my ass slapped.
Okay, number 8.
All right. So this is kind of going to be like a speed round here because these are shorter. But anyway, so based on just answers now to random questions, which one of you 3 prefers shit flavored ice cream?
Darren. Definitely Darren.
Okay. Next question. Which host chose to finger a skunk?
Is that me? I don't know if that's me.
You or Matt?
I really hope like all of these answers are Darren.
Yeah. This one makes me uncomfortable that it's probably me and I don't remember it.
I feel like it's Matt.
I hope it's not me. I hope
Okay.
this is not me.
Number 10.
So this is a little bit trickier, but you guys probably won't remember this. In which episode did Destiny and Matt were joined, by the ghost of Darren because he supposedly got, and I quote from Matt, the Hivy? Which episode was that?
That was my history, right?
Right.
Yes, you know the episode number though.
Yeah, I get the episode number.
Oh
I
shit!
don't remember. It's in a single digit.
I'm gonna take a stab in the dark.
7. I'm gonna say 7.
All right.
And then in this episode, they also said that they would continue to make fun of Darren to his face rather than behind his back. Okay, this is the last question. This is the big bonus question here. So I know you've had guests on the show before. So the question is, where does Al work?
NASA. Not really, but that's what we always say.
Mick, this is a fucking awesome game.
This is such a good game. Oh my God.
Okay, do you guys want to rattle off your answers for the first question, and I'll tell you who's right and who's wrong.
Give us a recap of the question, then we'll give you the answer.
Okay, so Fave's side of a die is 2. Who's that?
I said Destiny.
I said Matt.
I thought it was me.
Yeah, it was Destiny.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So who said I'm feeling like a brand new woman in episode 2?
That was me.
Darren.
That was Darren.
That was me for sure.
That was Darren, 100%. Who said they would rather be a 5-bladed propeller hat than a 3-bladed fan?
I'm gonna guess me.
I said Destiny.
It was Darren.
Damn it!
Wow. I didn't even know it was me. I don't remember half I'd say.
Oh man, it was so funny going back and listening to these episodes. I was in stitches. Like, it's freaking hilarious. And I actually had to censor a lot of it because I didn't think it was appropriate, but it was pretty funny. Okay, so who said that they might have diarrhea in episode 4?
Matt?
Darren.
Don't say me.
Destiny, what'd you say?
I said Darren.
I said Matt.
me, but I wasn't sure because I know you joked about me having diarrhea once, and I don't know what episode.
It was in fact Destiny. Let's see here. I might have skipped one. I might have gone out of order, but whatever. Which host said that they would be a bed if they were an item of furniture? Bonus points for telling me why
Me.
No, yeah.
they would want to be a bed.
That's the right one. Destiny.
It was me.
I said me for some weird furry reason.
I said Destiny because people get some in a bed.
Oh, I think that's right.
It's something like that. Yeah, me because
Yeah, she said, quote unquote, that's where all the action happens.
Yeah.
2 points. 2
Yeah.
points for that.
Okay. So which host said
Go ahead.
I would like to have my ass slapped in episode 7?
Aaron?
I said
Was
me.
it me?
I said Destiny.
It was Destiny.
Yeah.
Man, I'm really bad at this. It's probably because I also don't
I
listen to our
put
own
both
podcast.
names. Hey, you
Okay.
I need to listen to it again.
Okay. So based on the answers to random question, which one of you prefers shit flavored ice cream?
I said
Darren.
100%
Darren.
that's me.
100% Darren. You have the choice between puke flavored gum and shit flavored ice cream.
That was the first unanimous one, I think.
What was the other option? Other than
Puke flavored gum.
yeah, I still stand by that choice.
Yeah. Conversation.
Okay. And which host chose to finger a skunk?
I said me.
That's correct.
I remember that one too.
Okay. And what were your guesses for the episode number in which Destiny and Matt were joined by the ghost of Darren because Darren got the Hivy?
6, and that was in the single digit.
I said 5.
I said 8.
I said 7.
And what did you say, Destiny?
7.
It was episode 10.
Oh,
shit.
Oh, we were really close.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Last question. Where does Alistair work?
NASA.
It's not NASA.
That's correct. Ding, 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 ding.
answer.
No, that is the real answer.
That is the only and real answer.
Sorry.
I only missed 2.
Yeah.
So I missed 3.
I only got 3. Technically, I get 4 because I put the real answer for the last one.
Mick
Mick's
the game master. He said NASA.
I don't think Alistair's ever said he really works.
No, we haven't actually said
He's
it
never said that on podcast.
because it's NASA.
No, but he works at NASA. Yeah. So now I guess you all get punished. Matt, go finger a skunk. Darren, eat some ice cream. And I guess Destiny, I would like to have my ass slapped.
No, he wants his ass slapped.
Yeah.
That's That's funny.
Go fly.
Thanks for playing, guys. I really enjoyed that. You guys did way better than I thought you would do.
Dude, that was
awesome.
That was a fantastic game.
Yeah, thanks for that. That was
I miss
great.
games. We should bring them back.
I have a good one that we could play if you're not salty about losing, Destiny.
It's because he's a bragger. Like, he can't. Oh.
What? Sorry?
Nothing.
No. What?
Nothing.
Mick, that was a really, really fantastic game. Thank you so much for taking the time to put that together for us. That was fucking awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yo, I'm just
Cheers. Glad you guys enjoyed it.
that you listened to all of those and picked out certain things. Like, I'm hella impressed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love the little things that make me laugh and smile, and it was totally out of nowhere. I like to go back and just like check those off. You know what I mean? And if I ever come back, I'll set it up a little bit better, and we'll try to make it a little harder.
You will totally come
Oh,
back.
you will 100% be back.
Yeah.
Wicked.
You are part of this podcast quite literally. So
Yeah,
please. Yeah.
Yeah, you're literally our musical soul backbone and the ghost that Darren eloped with. Well, that brings us to the end of the show. We closed out with the fucking fantastic game. Mick, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for being one of our biggest supporters from day one. Thank you for all the music and all the cool shit you do. I'm super stoked for your new endeavors in the audio world, and we are definitely going to plug the living shit out of that when you get it all up and running. But thank you so much. You were a fucking fantastic guest, and we had a blast having you on, and you will for sure be back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, thank you guys so much for having me. Like, I just appreciate it, and I love the show. Keep on keeping on. Like, it's freaking awesome, and I think this thing is going to pick up so much traction. It already has, but it's just fantastic. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, dude. All right, well, that brings us to the end. Destiny, what about you? Anything left to say?
No, it was really great having Mick on. I think he's going to give Al a run for his money as my favorite guest now.
Oh,
So,
shit.
Oh boy, I can't. Al is the man. Like, I can't. He's the top dog. I respect that guy. He's great. I don't even want to be put in the same category as him.
Hey, I'm making
Please.
it a competition.
Oh boy.
And here's the thing. Al actually was for NASA. Mick is actually Deadmau5. We never see Deadmau5's face.
That's true.
So this is
And we actually get to see his face, but none of the listeners get to see it.
exactly.
Whoa.
Oh, Mick, what about you?
Ooh.
Anything left that you want to get off your chest?
I like dolphins.
Thank you.
Nice.
I love the randomness.
Right?
Of that. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Continue to check and support the podcast. If you like what you heard, like, subscribe, share, watch the YouTube page for new Let's Plays. We'll have a new one going up. Well, that will already be up by the time that this podcast goes up for Moving Out. If you want to see us get really all over the place as we try and move houses, well, that's a
Furniture.
game.
We're trying to move
Furniture.
We don't move the house.
We're not moving the house.
Hey, we tried. Please check that out. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram as well. You can catch us everywhere as the Burnout Brighter podcast. Please continue to support. We very much appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening. Catch us next week. That brings us to the end. Darren, say bye.
Bye.
What the fuck was that?
All right. There's Dustin, say bye.
Bye. Also, dolphins rape Mick. I don't know if you
Oh,
know
no.
that. They do.
Dolphins.
I know, but
What?
we have to end the podcast
Yes, we
with
did.
that.
I just, like.
Okay, I retract that statement. I just like dolphins.
So Destiny's last words for this podcast are Dolphins rape Mick. Mick, say bye.
Bye-bye now.
We'll catch you all next week. Peace out. Darren, anything left to say?
I don't know. This whole game's made me reevaluate my life choices.
I just
I just feel like you need to listen to the podcast.
But like, the thing is, like, I do listen to it, and I don't remember most of that shit.
I remember
Like,
a lot of it.
I most definitely did not.
If it's any consolation, I listen to the podcast episodes that I'm not part of.
Yeah,
There's only
there you
been
go.
like 2.
I listen to them.
Hey, there was a question about one of those. You should have been able to get that.
You know what?
That's true. That's
You've got a
true.
point. You've got a point.